like you have a twisted neck at all after yesterday's video that was all sideways. Wow, you've been corrected and now you're all straight up and down. I'm so glad. I was kind of worried about you. Well, welcome back. And today you're going to get to do two things, one of which is use your fabulous editing skills to find out how to start your sentence and to put that comma into your introductory prepositional phrase. So let's look at page 102. Please have it open in your grammar workbook. And I want you to remember that it's not a complete sentence unless it has two things. The principal elements, they are subject and predicate, are those two parts. So if your sentence does not have a subject, a noun or a pronoun that the sentence is about, or a verb saying what that subject is doing or being, you don't have a sentence. You just have a humble jumble of phrases and adjectives and adverbs and no real structure of a sentence. You also remember that prepositions are what hold the sentence together. Remember, if you take out the preposition, the whole sentence falls apart. It's a connector word, kind of like that stem on the apple. Do you remember that? Yeah, And so what we're going to see now on the board and on your page 102 is we just have a bunch of phrases put together, prepositional phrases, okay? Let's look at the first one just to prove ourselves correct here. Underneath the clothes pile in the laundry room. Well, we do have some nouns, the pile and the laundry room, but we don't have any verbs and we don't have the whole thing about them because we have underneath the clothes pile is a prepositional phrase and in the laundry room is a prepositional phrase. So we just have a couple of prepositional phrases. Now they could be put into a sentence after the verb, like I left my rubber ducky underneath the clothes pile in the laundry room. That would work. But if you wanted to be one of those master storytellers that put that at the front of your sentence, you couldn't leave it as it is. You would have to capitalize the first word and then you would have to put a comma over here. You know how to capitalize, how to use your editing marks for capitalization. So take out your pencil and do that for the U. Do you remember what it is? Okay, write it down. Under the U on page 102, I want you to put 3 underlines. That means that's going to become a capital letter. But now I'm going to show you the editing mark to insert a comma when there isn't one. Are you ready? Here we go. Remember, we go underneath the clothes pile in the laundry room. Okay, we know we want to put a comma here. So we're going to put our comma here, but we're going to put another mark so that our eyeballs go there. And it's one of these. It's a caret. It's an insert this here. And what are we inserting here? We're inserting the comma. So write that at the end of the phrase. Now you could create a sentence. I'm not going to ask you to on number 1, but you could create a sentence newly that said, capital, underneath the clothes pile in the laundry room, I found my rubber ducky. There you go. Please look at number 2, and I want you to try to mark it based on what we just did. Go. Are you ready? We're going to put a triple underline to capitalize the beginning word of our sentence, and we're going to pretend this is the first phrase we're going to use throughout the long afternoon, but you can't just put the comma. You have to put the caret to show that that's where it's going, and then put the comma underneath. It looks kind of like an arrow with a twisty line under it. That's kind of a funny thing. Okay, move on to number 3. Please do number 3 right now. In the sunlight near the window, something happened. Mark it. Okay. Triple underline your I to show you need a capitalization there. And then put your arrow, your caret, and your comma to show that you're going to insert the comma there when you rewrite the sentence. Then you could rewrite the sentence to say, in the sunlight near the window, the plant thrived. That would work. You could come up with another one. I want to hear what yours is. What's yours? Sunlight near the window. Huh? Okay, I like it. I like it. Here we go. Do number 4. Number 4 is on page 103. Between the huge stockpiles, It's not a sentence, so we'd have to add the subject and predicate. Right now we just have a set of prepositional phrases, or one prepositional phrase. Put your capital and your comma, and you would have to make that a complete sentence. Right now, it's a terrible set of phrases lost in the world by themselves, and they need a good writer to write the end of the sentence. What would you say? Between two huge stockpiles, comma, you'd have to finish it. At this point, I want you to look at the bottom of page 102, and before I see you again in the next few seconds, I want you to take number 1 and number 2. Number 1 says, with axes, the older boys split the wood into pieces. Do not analyze that sentence. I want you to just put a box around every noun you see in that sentence. There are 4 of them. Put a box around the nouns on number 1 and analyze it. Like, for instance, if this was the sentence, piles would be the noun. A noun names a person, place, or thing. You would just put a square around the words that are nouns. Do you understand? Do the same thing for number 2. Inside the family room, the girls built a fire in the fireplace. There are also 4 nouns in that sentence. I want you to put a box around each noun. When you have completed that, I want you to then turn your video back on and we will check our work together. Pause, do that, and come back to me. All right, let's check your work. Looking at number 1, the ones you should have boxes around are axes, boys, wood, pieces. Those are all nouns. We have our subject, we have our direct object, and we have 2 objects of the preposition, all nouns. In number 2, you should have room, girls, fire, and fireplace. Again, we have the same thing. We have a subject, we have a direct object, and then we have an object of the preposition and an object of the preposition. All right, good. Just a little noun check there. Please turn your page to page 104. Should look like this. Lessons to practice. On page 104, we're going to do this some together and some separately. Right now, I want us to read A together, and I want you to notice where your prepositions are. Look for them as you read. Begin. At school, the children devoured the birthday treat before recess. All right, I want you to notice that there are 2 prepositional phrases in this sentence, and if you have been listening and reciting your preposition list, you will find them pretty quickly. I want you to analyze this sentence and then come back and we will check it together. All right, welcome back. Let's do it together. At school, the children devoured the birthday treat before recess. Order of analysis is phrases, clauses, principal elements, and modifiers. Are there any prepositional phrases in this sentence? Yes. At school and before recess. Remember, we can check ourselves by taking out what we think is the preposition and saying the sentence without it. If it falls apart, we know we have a preposition. School, the children devoured the birthday treat. Recess. That doesn't work. So we've got some prepositional phrases. At, preposition. At what school? Object of the preposition. Before, preposition. Before what? Recess. Object of the preposition. At school, the children devoured the birthday treat before recess. This is a sentence and it is declarative. This sentence is about children. So children is the subject. This sentence tells us that children devoured. So devoured is the predicate. It is the predicate verb because it shows action. Now we ask our what question to see if there's a direct object. Devoured what? The treat. So treat is the direct object because it receives the action of the verb. Which treat, or I should say what kind of treat? A birthday treat. It's an adjective because it modifies a noun. Which treat? The treat. Adjective because it modifies a noun. Which children? The children because it modifies the noun. Okay, are we finished? No, we're not. We cannot leave our sentence with these modifiers unconnected to something. So at school is telling us when it was devoured. So at school is an adverbial element because it modifies the verb and it is a prepositional phrase. You have to do two things. You have to connect it to the prepositional word and you have to have the adverb and preposition labeled there as well. Before recess. Devoured when? Before recess. So this is an adverbial element because it modifies the verb and it is a prepositional phrase. Now we're finished because we've done all the parts. Excellent. Remember, you have to have a subject and a predicate in order to have a complete sentence, and we do have that. So this is a complete sentence. If we just had at school, we would not have a complete sentence. So keep those in mind. This is a complete sentence here. Let's read it together. Near the playground, some children skipped with jump ropes. I'm going to give you a hint. You have two prepositional phrases. I want you to find them, analyze the sentence, and come back to check. Okay, let's check. Near the playground, some children skipped with jump ropes. Order of analysis is phrases, clauses, principal elements, and modifiers. Are there any prepositional phrases in this sentence? Yes. Near the playground and with jump ropes. Those are prepositional phrase. Near is a preposition. Near what? The playground. Object of the preposition. Which playground? The playground. Adjective because it modifies the noun. With is a preposition. With what? Ropes. Object of the preposition. What kind of ropes? Jump ropes. So it's an adjective because it modifies the noun. Near the playground, some children skipped with jump ropes. This is a sentence and it is declarative. This sentence is about children. So children is the subject. This sentence tells us that children skipped. So skipped is the predicate. It is the predicate verb because it shows action. Oops, I forgot this part last time. There are no linking verbs because predicate verbs do not use linking verbs. Which children? Some children. So it's an adjective because it modifies the noun. We're not finished because we don't have these modifiers connected to anything. So near the playground. Skipped where? Near the playground is an adverbial element because it modifies the verb and it is a prepositional phrase. Make sure you have that written. Skipped how? With jump ropes. So that is an adverbial element because it modifies the verb and it is a prepositional phrase. Are you finished now? Yes. Let's try this one. In the muddy fields, the two teams played soccer. You're going to decide how many prepositional phrases you have and analyze this sentence. All right, let's do it. In the muddy fields, say this out loud with me, please. I want to hear you say it. In the muddy fields, the two teams played soccer. Keep talking. The order of analysis is phrases, clauses, principal elements, and modifiers. Are there any prepositional phrases in this sentence? Yes. In the muddy fields is a prepositional phrase. In is your preposition. In what fields? Object of the preposition. What kind of fields? Muddy fields. Adjective because it modifies the noun. Which fields? The. So it's an adjective because it modifies the noun. Are there other prepositional phrases in this sentence? No. So we start with our principal elements. In the muddy fields, say it with me, the two teams played soccer. This is a sentence and it is declarative. This sentence is about teams. So teams is the subject. This sentence tells us that teams played. So played is the predicate. It is the predicate verb because it shows action. There are no linking verbs because predicate verbs do not use linking verbs. Now we ask our what question to find out if there's a direct object. Played what? Soccer. Direct object because it receives the action of the verb. How many teams? 2 teams. Adjective because it modifies the noun. Which teams? The team. Adjective because it modifies the noun. We have to deal with this still. We're not done. Played where? In the muddy fields. So this is an adverbial element because it modifies the verb and it is a prepositional phrase. Now we're done. Excellent. Let's look at our last one. After recess, the children had muddy shoes again. You analyze and come back to check. All right, let's check. After recess, the children had muddy shoes again. Order of analysis is phrases, clauses, principal elements, and modifiers. Are there any phrases in this sentence? Yes. After recess is a prepositional phrase. After is the preposition. After what? Recess. Object of the preposition. Are there other prepositional phrases in this sentence? No. Begin again. After recess, say it with me. The children had muddy shoes again. This is a sentence and it is declarative. This sentence is about children. So children is the subject. This sentence tells us that children had. So had is the predicate. It is the predicate verb because it shows action. There are no linking verbs because predicate verbs do not use linking verbs. Had what? Shoes. Direct object because it receives the action of the verb. What kind of shoes? Muddy shoes. So this is an adjective because it modifies the noun. Again, Had when? Again. So again is an adverb because it modifies the verb. Which children? The children is an adjective because it modifies the noun. Are we finished? No, we haven't dealt with this yet. After recess, they had these shoes when? After recess. So after recess is the adverbial element because it modifies the verb and it is a prepositional phrase. Your job now is to look at number 2. After you've checked to make sure yours looks like mine, correct your mistakes to make sure when you take a picture that it looks like mine. If you want to correct it in red, that's fine, but make sure that it shows that you made corrections. What is the object of the preposition? This is a different definition than you gave yesterday, so be careful. Make sure you write it just like it is in your chant. If you need help, you can turn back to the beginning of this chapter, start with a capital and end with an end mark. Then I want you to turn to page 105. Imagine that you are at a basketball game at school. And with that in mind, complete the phrase for each preposition listed. Above something, you come up with this part, and then write a sentence that includes this new phrase. You have 2 options. You can put your phrase in the beginning of the sentence as the introductory phrase. I'm going to put introductory phrase. Or you could put it after the verb. If you put your prepositional phrase at the beginning of your sentence, you have to capitalize it and put your comma after it. If you choose to take this phrase and put it at the end of the sentence that you make up, then you don't have to do that. You just end with a period. You get to be creative above something and then fit it into a complete sentence using that phrase, either at the beginning or the end. Same with under. You're at the basketball game. Under something, this happened. Or this happened under something. All right? You figure out what you want to say. Check it to make sure that it makes sense and that you have a complete sentence with a subject and a predicate and your new phrase. I look forward to seeing the pictures. Well done and keep up the good work.